All right. I hope everybody is there. So once again, welcome to this webinar on the Executive PhD in Private Sector Development of the University of Maastricht School of Management. My name is Diederik de Boer. I'm Professor of Sustainable Business Development at the Maastricht School of Management, University of Maastricht. And also, I'm the director of this executive PhD program on private sector development. Operationally, questions can be asked in the Q&A. These will either be answered in the Q&A by Michela Parillo, Education and Research Officer, or live at the end during the 50-minute Q&A at the end of the webinar by myself or Iris Weijenberg. And for your information, the recording of this PowerPoint presentation will be shared with all of you afterwards. So what are we going to do this afternoon? We will start with a small introduction of the program. We'll look into the program information and research focus, explain you a little bit more on private sector development and the different research topics we're focusing on. And then at the end of this focus on the content, we will move towards the operational issues regarding the program, the application, the fees, and some other issues which are coming forward. Well, first of all, this part-time executive PhD program in private sector development is, I think, a very interesting program which allows the different people, professional policymakers, researchers, to combine their careers with obtaining a PhD. So while working, you're also able to obtain a PhD. Most of our students are executives who do combine work and research together for a period of 4 to 6 years. Of course, I think this is also from a promotional point of view, it improves your career perspective tremendously after finalizing this PhD. And a third important aspect of an advantage of joining our program is that as Maastricht School of Management, we have a huge experience in working in emerging economies. And finally, you're becoming then also a graduate of the Maastricht School of Management and the Maastricht University, and becoming part of this interesting network of researchers focusing on private sector development. Well, who are we? The University of Maastricht. As Maastricht School of Management, we're part of the Faculty of Business and Economics. And as faculty, we're part of the University of Maastricht. University of Maastricht has 5 faculties, including our faculty. It's called School of Business and Economics. This year, we enrolled about 23,000 students, including bachelors. There are within the Faculty of Business and Economics, there are 9 departments and 5 centers, amongst which the Maastricht School of Management is one of these 5 centers. If we're talking about the PhD program, it will be part of a graduate school, and in this case, it will be the graduate school GSBX. Also, UNU Merit, ROA, and MSI are part of this graduate school of SBE. As SBE, finally, it's maybe also important to mention here that next to this executive PhD program, we are offering also full-time PhD program and one other, I have to say, PhD program, which is not focusing on private sector development, but more on technology and innovation and governance. The University of Maastricht started to exist in the 70s, but MSM is much older and is one of the oldest business schools in the Netherlands. established in 1952. MSM is also one of the 7 international educational institutions with a clear footprint in emerging and developing economies. And as such, the Master School of Management is also receiving structural funding from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to focus, in this case of Master School of Management, on the case of managerial issues in emerging economies. Master School of Management itself consists of 2 main departments. One is focusing on management education, and the other one, the Expert Center for Emerging Economies, which I'm heading, is focusing on management development. As Master School of Management, we are present through educational programs, but also with capacity building and research trajectories in more than 50 countries around the world. And over the years, we gained and we built up an alumni network of more than 20,000 alumni around the world. And as of September 2022, so about 1 year now, we're part of the University of Maastricht, meaning also that we have a greater capacities to focus on academic issues which we didn't have in the past. Talking about the this PhD program, within the Maastricht School of Management is part of the research framework in which we try to excel as MSM. All our research themes are related to this issue of private sector development, and we built up this research focus into 3 thematic columns: innovation and partnership development, leadership and entrepreneurship, and finally also financial development. These are the 3 broader tracks which we provide as management school, and in which we also have other researchers and staff working in it. Cross-sectoral, I have to mention then as well, is that in all of these themes, we're focusing on issues either of societal impact, the green economy, and the third aspect relates to issues of knowledge, university and vocational educational development. So this is the matrix in which we work as MSM. To give it a little bit more hand and feet, here I put the different research areas and themes below each other. First of all, again, private sector development in general is the broader topic. We have done many researchers focusing also on issues related to innovation, entrepreneurship, and digitalization. The third important aspect is educational development that relates also to these issues of vocational education and university capacity development. Globalisation as such related to instruments of private sector development, industrial policy and value chain development, inclusive and sustainable development in the broader sense. We're focusing then on topics like climate smart agriculture, financial development, not to forget, in which is also an important research theme for the Master School of Management. We have many PhDs and researchers focusing on this topic of financial development, amongst other small or microcredit topics. And finally, what is important for us as well, and what is part of our bread and butter of capacity building, are issues related to strategy, leadership change, and organizational development. Well, private sector development is a theme which is used a lot by the donor communities, focusing on a range of strategies to focus on coming up with a market, a private sector market, which is vibrant, fairly, and providing economic opportunities of quality to everybody, right? To poor people at scale here, as a definition of the enterprise development organization. Private sector development relates then also to emerging economies, And if we're talking about the emerging economies, as MSM, we're defined then and use the classification of the World Bank of low and middle income countries around the world. Private sector development as such, and that's also what we noticed and noticing in our work, is related to three broad mega trends in the world. First of all, it's the issue of sustainability related to all kinds of issues of climate change. How are we going to deal within the private sector with these issues of climate change, energy transition, and what for role the private sector is going to play in that broader theme. The second aspect relates to this issue of digitalization. Digitalization is of importance more and more. We all know the increasing role of AI, ChatGPT, and other forms of communication, digital communication. Well, and what kind of role is it going to play within the private sector for the future? And finally, also, what I would like to mention here is geopolitics. Do we have to choose sides in this different changing geopolitical environment? Are the value chains becoming shorter as we have to deal and to sides in the different geopolitical arenas? And so these three main topics are also guiding us in further fine-tuning private sector development in emerging economies. And touching upon this issue of emerging economies, and then choosing also research topics related and also to the challenges we face and to the opportunities we see. The challenges relate then to the fact that often infrastructure in emerging economies are less technological savvy. There is just less infrastructure in place. So how are we going to deal with that? How are we going to deal with the fact that many of the information and technology monopolies are in the hands of non-emerging economies? How are we going to deal with that as an emerging economy? And if we're talking indeed about these geopolitical issues, do we need to choose sides? If we're then looking at the opportunities, so to what extent can we also leapfrog and make use of the fact that there is less technology, that there is less infrastructure, and can that have an impact, and can we make use of that by focusing and addressing more issues related to the green economy, the Green Deal of the European Union, and how does that relate also to our endeavors to look into this issue of the circular economy? And of course, an opportunity is as well that we can learn, as we maybe are in certain areas that we can learn from mistakes from other sectors, amongst others, becoming less dependent already from fossil energy. So what can we put in place? But if we're looking at these opportunities, these challenges, it's very much important also to look at those by having a clear vision. What kind of vision are we going to put in place here? And I love then also to look and to use the framework of WAL, because we would like to put our research endeavors into perspective. And are we going to WAL speaks then about three horizon framework, and we have one of the frameworks relates to the status quo. One of the framework relates to disruptive innovations. So we have to shake up the whole situation in order to transform and to have change there. And finally, we would like to focus on a vision which relate to a viable world in which all of us can be, all economies can prosper towards regenerative cultures, as we mentioned it. The answer is, of course, also not easy to give, but I think it's very important to have these brief perspective in the background of your heads, and somewhere we believe that the transformation vision is somewhere between age 2 and age 3, often defined as age 2 plus. Because we need disruption on the one hand, and we need, of course, to create for transformation, focusing more on a viable world. And in doing so, we can look into these 7 transformative pathways which we developed over the years in our different capacity building and research trajectories in emerging economies. First of all, it's the fact that we should try to see to what extent we can become part of a kind of agricultural-driven transformation process, to focus more on high production that can support also agro processing. So to what extent we can also upgrade and focus on more to provide more processes in the agricultural value chain, not only exporting coca beans to the emerged economies, but also processing the coca beans into chocolate, for example. Another aspect of the transformation pathways relate to the fact that we should try to focus as much as possible on your comparative advantage and also on the local content we have, and see to what extent also local participation can become part of this process. And in that respect, you can look, for example, at the sector of mining. So to what extent also can these emerging economies becoming part of the mining sector, and also investing and operating the mines themselves, instead of having foreign direct investors dealing with all kinds of mines around the world. So local content and local participation is one of these pathways in which we try to do research. The third aspect relates to the modernizing the service sector. I think I mentioned already this fact of digitalization, and how are we going to make use of that? Can we make use of that by leapfrogging certain aspects? The fourth aspect relates to the export-oriented manufacturing. So we have small markets often as emerging economies. So how can we then still gain and focus on more development? And one of the things what is also classic is to focus on foreign direct investment, more export-oriented manufacturing for the global markets, for example, in the textile industry. Enhancing infrastructure, we all know that focusing on infrastructure is very much important for the private sector. If we cannot reach our market, then it's becoming very difficult to have more private sector development in place. So it's not only about just changing the mud roads into asphalt roads, having better access in that aspect, but it's also about thinking about how to deal with these growing urbanization in the world. The sixth aspect relates to the creative industry. As an upcoming industry, the creative industry is depending also more on the ICT sector, and it's also locally focused, and therefore also an important aspect what by having also ICT systems in place are becoming important areas of growth in many continents around the world. And the final transformation pathways which we are focusing on is the fact that is this sector of tourism, in which many potential people are getting also jobs, and therefore is also of importance to many companies in which we're as MSM are working in. Now, this is just providing you with the framework of private sector development, that if we're working and if we're having these pathways clear, if we're focusing on the innovation pathways, there are, if we're talking about private sector development, 4 different systems, theories, and models and methods which we can work, which relate to value change, to cluster development. It relates then also finally to innovation and business dynamics. Private sector development, how we deal with it is also getting in this issue of sustainability. So we would like to look at it not only from an economic point of view, but also from a societal, social point of view, as well as from an environmental point of view. In order to do so, it's important to understand also the value chain, the commodity or the non-commodity value chains, in how private sector is getting its place, and how we can analyze also where are the gaps and opportunities in these value chains, and possibly then also clusters can play a role in further understanding and also looking for opportunities for private sector development, trying to build upon the strengths in the countries in which we're working. And if we then finally designed and identified the different clusters, it's also then the case to reach to the next level of cluster development, and that is creating these ecosystems for innovation and business, small and micro enterprise development and entrepreneurship. Having many of these businesses together, having many of the institutions together, create also for this ecosystem for entrepreneurship and innovation. But first of all, is this issue of sustainability, in which we look at sustainability from 3 points of 3 perspectives: from a social point of view, from an environmental point of view, and from an economical point of view, with a lot of crossovers, which is well, the time is too limited to focus on that. What I would like to mention here is that it's important to look at private sector development, which finally relates to the top layer here in the pyramid on inclusive, sustainable business development. This is what we're striving for. And in order to do so, if we're looking at the clusters, there are 5 important foundation actors, which attention needs to be provided to those institutions, and that is access to finance, the role of research and development, the role of infrastructure. I mentioned that also in the pathways, but also very much important is the role of the skills. What are the skills required for the future of work? And finally, do we have a policy in place which provides enough attention for inclusive and sustainable business? We noticed over time that these 5 layers of these 5 actors within the economic foundation actors are not enough in emerging economies, because if we're talking about emerging economies, also this issue of safety is very much important. So to what extent are we not harassed on the road? To what extent is there a safe environment to do business? So these issues are related to this foundational societal foundation actors. So next to safety, we're also focusing on the issue of education, because we can only move to the R&D level if people are literate. So the level of primary education does matter. Also, the fact people need to be healthy to make use of the capacities, the human capacities we have. But in order to make use of the human capacities, looking into skills, for example, we need to have a fairly good primary health system. So a health system, a workable health system, is also part of the societal foundation actors. And finally, there needs also to be enough food for the urban centers and for the countries in which we're working in. So people need to focus on food security. So these actors do relate also to the economical foundation actors. And finally, what we take into the equation as well over the last 4 years, and that has also to do with the fact that within the European Union, we're focusing on issues like the Green Deal. So how are we going to deal with issues of environmental health, ecosystem vitality, and finally also the policies related to that, climate change mitigation? And we found out, and we have researchers working on this model, that this has also a huge implication then for the economic foundation actors, which finally relate to a framework, ecosystem for inclusive, sustainable business. So economic foundation actors, societal foundation actors, and environmental foundation actors do relate to each other and are of importance for each other for for this inclusive, sustainable business. And finally, also steers our research on private sector development. Here, I just will click further as we're running out of time, but relates to all of the issues mentioned. So next to the cluster, as I mentioned before, if we're talking about private sector development, often as a system used to analyze the private sector is also the global value chain, either commodity-based or specialized based, either focusing on commodities or just on issues related to manufacturing on the right side. So we use this value chain to have better insights in gaps and opportunities in the value chains, not only related to the business itself, but also to the institutions surrounding these value chains. And as a last point, I would like to make here is the fact that if we're talking about these clusters, the whole institutional environment, if we're talking about the value chain with the different actors involved, in order to focus on this issue of development itself, to focus on this issue of innovation, we need to work more as we see it in this triple helix approach, where the different actors are closely interlinked in this pyramid here, in which we try to set up helix platforms in which businesses, as well as governments, as well as civil society actors are working, and universities are working more together to create innovation, to create more businesses for the clusters in which they are working in. We called it then also the ecosystems for entrepreneurship. This is a final picture in which we create on the right side we have the institutional environment. On the left side we try to focus on competition. We use this value chain analysis to look at it further, and we look onto this triple helix partnerships and clusters, building upon comparative and competitive strengths in certain countries and regions to see how we can excel the economy. Well, just these are some examples which we use to analyze the different areas for private sector development. I would like to end this presentation by focusing on what the last group of students in the PhD program are focusing on. The first student focused here as an example on industry platform for emerging markets and accelerator for private sector development and economic progress for the global south. So his research is focusing on these issues of triple helix. The second one focuses more on the impact international universities, and in this case rankings have on development policy and planning in selected countries. And the third topic here is related to sustainability and accountability of NGOs within this triple helix process, seeing to what extent accountability is becoming important for development. Another one here relates to the financial sector, African SMEs lending systems, and the private sector and broad economic developments. So to what extent further improving the SME lending system will what are the opportunities in there, and how can we learn from best practices around the world? And the fifth one relates to the future of work, the robots replacing humans in the workplace. What kind of impact will these robots have of the service sector in different emerging economies? I would like to end with a quote of one of the famous professors of economics, which and he's doing a lot of research on private sector development, and he quotes here: "Equality of opportunity is not enough unless we create an environment where everyone is guaranteed some minimum capabilities through some guarantee of minimum income, education, and healthcare. We cannot say that we have fair competition. When some people have to run a 100-meter race with sandbags on their legs, the fact that no one is allowed to have a head start does not make the race fair. Equality of opportunity is absolutely necessary, but not sufficient in building a generally fair and efficient society." So we have to take not only the economic foundation actors into consideration, but very much also the societal actors, and finally also more and more these days the environmental actors, in order to create a fair competition for everyone. Thank you very much. I think we finished this part of the program now, and then I would like to give the floor to Iris Weyenberg, who provides more information on the content of the PhD program, how we are going to run it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diederik. Thank you very much. I'll now give some more practical information, starting with the program information. What are we going to do in year one? In year one, you will have 4 workshops. 2 will be on campus and 2 will be online. The on-campus workshops will be in May and November, and the online ones, that's 1 day in September and February. And during that first year, you will complete your PhD research proposal, and also your supervisors will be assigned during year one. And then 12 months after the start of the program, the supervisory team will evaluate your progress. And then admission to the second phase of the program depends on your successful assessment of your research proposal. And then we will have year 2 and onwards. The next slide, Peter. Thanks. So in each following year, we will have 1 on-campus workshop of 3 days or 3 to 4 days. Sometimes we also ask you stay here one day longer, because then you can meet with your supervisor or meet with your fellow PhD students. So there will be 1 on-campus workshop in May and 3 online workshops in September, November, and February. During these workshops, you will develop your research skills, you will network with your fellow students, you will receive feedback, you meet your supervisors, you are on campus, and that's the ideal opportunity there to talk to your supervisors and meet your fellow students. The general timeline of the program is 4 years, and however, it can take up to 7 years. And what you read here, in exceptional circumstances, you can have an extension, and then it will take up to 10 years. But ideally, you want to finalize this between the 4 or 5 years. So that's the program information. The next slide will be about your profile. So, yeah, the next slide.
I'm trying, because I was here in the chat.
Just wait a little bit for...
Maybe you can talk already. I will try to.
Yeah, I can talk already, of course. So the profile. So who are we looking for? We are looking for candidates with a master's degree and candidates who have a strong academic records, and that you are interested in academic research, and that you have a very special interest also in that private sector development. So we welcome students from all over the world, and also students with a wide variety of backgrounds, cultures, and disciplines. So our participants in the program, they have a job. Yeah, they are working, they are full-time, part-time, self-employed, sometimes they're independent consultants. And so ideally, if you have an employer, it would be good if the employer supports you in allocating time or accessing data, and that would really help you during your studies. And the program, of course, is open for participants from emerging economies as well as developed countries. So the next slide will be about the application procedure, because it's also important that we get your application in our system. So maybe you can move to the next slide, Diederik.
Yeah.
Yes, great. That's the application procedure. So what you see, one slide back, yeah, this one. So we have an online application portal. That's what you see on the slide. So when you enter that application portal, you apply online, and then you choose Executive PhD, what you see on the slide here, and then it all goes by itself. You have to upload some documents, of course, and what you see here is that the application deadline is the 1st of December 2023. So that's really also the date when the application portal closes. So I would advise you then to submit one day prior to the 1st of December. And yeah, really the application procedure, it really is very easy to do. So on the next slide, of course, we will have some application requirements. And again, I'm not going to read out loud everything which is there, but what we need is your master degree. We need your transcripts of your master degree. We need to know your proficiency in English. Very important is your motivation letter. We also ask you for 2 reference letters, and that reference letter, that's important to know that you just have to, in the application portal, you just mention the email address of your referee, and your referee will get a link where he or she can reply to our questions. So you don't have to ask for reference letters. That's done in the application portal. Important there in the application requirements, and I think the most important one is the expression of interest, and that's on the next slide. So what is an expression of interest? What we are asking from you is that you write down very briefly your first research ideas. Yeah, so we need to know, like, okay, what are you what will you research? So in that expression of interest, a little bit introduction to the study, the literature review, the methodology, the feasibility, and of course the references you are using. And all together, this is like 4-5 pages, because we just want to see in brief what your expression of interest is about. When you are on the website, the template is there, and it shows you what you need to write in your expression of interest. So as soon as you finish then your application procedure, again, if you need any help there while in that process, later on you will see my email address, and please don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help in the application procedure. After the application deadline, so that's the 1st of December, as already mentioned, then we will start reviewing the applicants. So how does it work? First assessment is done by me. I will look at your application documents. So if I miss something there, then I will contact you. Then after that, the assessment of your application will be done by the Board of Admissions. The candidates who are selected for an interview, they will be contacted somewhere in January 2024. And then interviews are planned for February 2024. And after that, a final decision about the selection will be taken. So this is the procedure and the timeline of what is done after the application deadline. And then on the next slide, of course, there's no program and without any fees. So what you see here is year one, the fee is 9,000 euros, and every year is 7,000. The application fee is 95, and this has to be paid before you can submit your application. So this is part of the application portal. The very last part of your application is paying the application fee, and then you can submit it, and then I can see in the system that that I have to start reviewing your application. Again, the application deadline, that is the 1st of December 2023. And then we will go to the next slide, and that's nice to see. So when you finally finish your whole program in 4, 5, 6 years, then you have your PhD degree. And we just want to show you a copy here of the PhD degree of Maastricht University. As you can see, it's in Latin, and on that degree, your name is mentioned, your thesis title is mentioned. And why are we showing this to you? Because I have lots of leads who are asking me, like, okay, what is stated on the degree? Does it say executive? Does it say online? Is a certain area mentioned? So that's why we're showing you. No, it doesn't say anything like this. It's in Latin with your name, and of course that you have the PhD degree, and your thesis title is mentioned there. So this was a bit my presentation. I can see in the Q&A that there are lots of questions. So I think we will now move on to the Q&A, Diederik.
Yeah, thank you very much, Iris. First question is by Peter Rundle about an interesting PhD proposal. What I would suggest, because I think it's going a little bit too much in detail, if I'm further elaborating on what he is proposing as a PhD proposal, that Peter is getting in, well, put this in the email to Iris, as mentioned here, MSM PhD admissions, and then I will respond to your request, Peter.
Diederik, can I please add something to this? I was already in contact with Peter, and I told him, attend the webinar, you will get some information. But I think it's good that the two of you get in contact.
Would it be possible to complete the MSM Executive PhD in 3 years for everybody? Yeah, it's theoretically it's possible, but it's very much hard work. And finally, we're trying to aim for 3 academic papers which do relate to your research. They don't need to be all submitted, but still, I mean, it still requires a lot of executives if you're working, and yeah, the experience is that it's hard to finish in 3 years, but yeah, it is possible. Thomas asked, do you have partnerships with universities in Asia? They could support research in Asian countries. Yes, Thomas, we're working with the different universities in Indonesia, University of Indonesia itself in Jakarta, and with Bogor University. We're working Bandung, I believe, as well, and we're working with universities in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City University, and in India with some universities. But always happy to to know more. But these are universities in which we have a solid partnership program. So it's not only about education, but it's also about exchange of staff and interns, etc. Thank you for your answer. Do you have cooperation with universities in Nigeria and Ghana? In Ghana, we have many programs and projects. We're working, for example, with GIMPA in Ghana, and with amongst others, but also in with other universities. So yes, we do. You can also check this, by the way, on our website. In Nigeria, we don't work yet so much with universities. Next question. In terms of access to finance in LDCs, can we explore potentials on the... This is Deepak Ratna Tuladar. In terms of access to finance in LDCs, can we explore potentials on developing financial models sector-wise, connecting the device industries and producer network? Would that be of interest? Anyhow, I think so. I mean, part of our financial trajectory, I think this is what is done and what has been done also in the past many times, and would definitely of interest. Would love to learn a little bit more on which kind of LDCs are you thinking about. Scott McCluskey, how firm do our research proposals need to be at the point when we submit our application? Yeah, I think that's a very important question. To what degree can we refine or change our proposals once the program has begun? The first year, we are still fine-tuning and further working on the proposals, and some of the proposals apparently are not, or data sets are changing, people are changing their minds. It's also possible. So yes, Scott, it is possible to change. However, it makes also sense to look at your job background and to what extent you can make use already of data sets which your job provides, what you provide you with a kind of jump start, but and that maybe also then limits your the focus of the research proposals which you would like to submit. But it is possible to change. But still, I mean, part of the application process is also the research idea, which needs to be firm. Ayuli Jemite, must the PhD thesis be limited by the 3 mega trends in the 7 transformation pathways? For example, a thesis on corporate leadership must come under TISA mega trends and pathways. Not per se. This is just a broader framework in which you could place your research, but it's not required. At the end of my presentation, I gave also 5 examples, and not all examples are can be steered under these 3 mega trends or 7 transformative pathways. So just kind of guideline framework. Danjuma Otoli. If in the application process I submit a research proposal, can I subsequently change? I think I mentioned that already. It is possible, but and to a certain extent, people are changing aspects in their research proposals or directions. To completely change it might need is rare, but it's still possible. Why healthcare is okay, Anna. Why healthcare seems to be out of transformation trends and areas for executive PhD? Well, I think healthcare is out of the transformation trends pathways. These are pathways which are coming forward out of the aspects in which we are working. But certainly, I would love to look also into the relations, and we do actually also to what extent healthcare relates to private sector development. What is the correlation between the two, and can we also show and prove that it is important? Research has been done, but definitely we can do more. UIA Sigala, if I'm not employed, what do I do with the requested employer's approval requirement in the application? Iris, can you say something?
Yeah, I think I can answer this one. If you are not employed, then you just mention that in the application procedure. So you just upload a statement there. I'm not employed, or I'm self-employed. So then you don't have that employer statement. So that's you can also apply if you are not employed. And your next question is, the application requires to send reference requests, and Ayuya is asking, do we have a list of referees we can choose from? No, we don't have a list. So what I would say here, okay, I think you know two people who can talk, who can talk positively about you. So you have to choose from your own network. We don't have a list for that. Diederik, I think the next one is for you.
Next one, Julie Jemite. Can you please expand a little bit more about skills mentioned in your Economic Foundation Actor? Does it, for example, include leadership skills, mentoring, coaching? Yes, possibly. What we're focusing a lot in the development processes in which we are engaged in and in which we're working in with donors is the fact that people say, well, we need to have skills to further develop the economy. So we need to have carpenters, we need to have masons, we need to have we're having a lack of these practical skills in order to have the make industry working. So primarily are focusing in that respect, and this is just a framework on these issues of skills which are provided by vocational training centers. And the quality of the output of these vocational training centers is often lacking, contributing to less development in the whole economic development sphere. So there you have to see it. Doesn't mean that also issues related to leadership skills, mentoring, and coaching are crucial aspects of the whole set of economic actors. So either they're part of the R&D, where you also need to have leadership skills, or you have them part of your policy, in which you provide a suitable policy for business development. But in first instance, if we're talking about skills, we're talking about these vocational skills. Then it's now going to jump to the end. Do the family depend sponsored by this PhD program? That's you, Iris?
Yeah, if I understand correctly, I don't get the question really well, but
well, I feel, yeah, I mean, to what extent can they sponsor the PhD program?
Yeah,
family or dependents, they can.
Of course they can. They can sponsor, you know. It doesn't have to be, let's say, your employer who supports you. It can be your family. It can be anybody who can sponsor you for the program.
The next one, Dajuma Ocholi, the nexus between health and development is important in the context of developing economies. Is it possible to submit a research template in this area? Well, you can submit a research proposal, but we do not have a research template, although Iris provided you with the requirements in this respect. Mm-hmm. Then your next question, where do we address insecurity issues? For example, Boko Haram. Well, therefore, that's in the societal layer, which I put there. Security issues are definitely a threat for private sector development, definitely also in emerging economies. Therefore, it's part of the societal foundation actor, just below the economic foundation actors. Then we have chat D014. Hi. So at the risk of sounding out of scope of this program, I work within the public sector. I would like to explore the extent of AI as a disruptor in the way. Okay, this is again. Okay, so to what extent are issues related to text coming from the public sector of importance for private industries? And I would definitely say that is one of the drivers for well, you can steer, of course, also innovation by having different taxation systems. So yes, we do deal with taxation issues in our at MSM itself, so also in our PhD program. Then Anthony, as per program information on the website, the fee is defined as 9,000 euros year one.
Yeah.
Is this for you, Iris?
Yeah, what I can say here is that the first year you pay per year. So the tuition fee is paid per year because we don't know how long it will take you to finalize the PhD. So that's why it said, okay, first year is 9,000 euro and every subsequent year will be 7,000 euros.
Next question.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
Next question is by Magdalena and Guira, who would like to focus her research on social issues in Tanzania. That might be, well, I mean, societal issues and social issues are part of sustainability within, but we're still looking at the private sector development angle. So if your research proposal is zooming in on social issues, but within the broader framework of private sector development, it might be possible, but needs to see that. You can draft research idea to Iris and we can have a look at it. Nguyen asks, Trung Nguyen, Eric, okay. I'm MBA or graduate from MSM Vietnam. Is it authorized to apply to this program with that master's degree? Yes, we encourage you. Uday Virmani, is the permission support letter from the employer mandatory? Can there be
that question is already answered, Diederik. So if you are self-employed or if you so if your employer is not supporting you, you can state that in the application portal. So there is an exception for that.
Then Ajuya Sigala asks, any collaborating institutions, universities in Tanzania? Well, we are working with ASAMI and with NACTE as an umbrella organization in Tanzania. What would happen if I lose my job during the PhD? Jesus Serrano. Iris?
Yeah, I think I should answer here, you know, then you're not lucky if you lose your job, but as long as you can pay for the application, the tuition fees, then I don't see why you are not able to finalize that, Diederik. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, every year we are looking into the content.
Yeah.
And but also I think operationally, so if you cannot adhere, then yeah, we can. What we can give you a pause or something, and then we can see to. I mean, this is of course also tailor made. So then we can see what are the possibilities. We never had this at hand, huh, Iris? Or
no. No, and then in the next question from Biruk, he's asking if there is a scholarship for this program. No, there is no scholarship for this program. The only thing what you can do is that you, by yourself, you look for funding. And then as soon as you find something where we can support you there, is saying that you are applying for the PhD. But as from Maastricht University, MSM, there is no scholarship for the program. And his other question is related to his topic, Diederik.
And the topic might be suitable, although I would like to learn a little bit more, but you can also put it on the email to Iris.
Yeah,
and then I think we're coming to the end, right?
Yeah, there's still another question here from Steen. The diploma is in Latin. Will it translate in English to PhD or executive PhD? I think it says on the translate the degree of doctor, if I'm not mistaken.
Will it translate in English to PhD or executive? No, it will translate to PhD.
PhD, yeah. The word executive is not mentioned on the degree.
Well, then I think I would like to thank everybody for joining this webinar. And for any further questions, please contact Iris Weijenburg via MSM PhD admissions at maastrichtuniversity.nl. And for your information, please note also that the recording and the PowerPoint will be shared with all who were present here today. Thank you very much, and looking forward to have you on board. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.